It all but appears that we are now in a global recession. Alan, what does this mean for working men and women?
You know, it means there are going to be a lot of lost jobs. The unemployment rate is going to go up very high, perhaps approach 8%. The news is going to be ugly on the economy and the jobs market in the next 3 to 6 months. And our stock market is going to stay in a bearish configuration.
Peter, do you think we've hit the bottom yet? I mean, every day we see, just about every day, we see the stocks plummeting. When do we reach this bottom?
Well, we certainly haven't reached the bottom for the economy. I don't know about the stocks, but we're starting to see in the real economy the bite of the shortage of credit. Businesses shutting down, businesses laying off employees in very large numbers, sales forecasts for the largest corporations, not only here but abroad, indicating a much slowing marketplace, and that veil of pessimism is coming to grip on people in terms of their spending habits and in terms of the stock market. Even if we could get the banks lending again, which we failed to do when we put equity into them, it's going to take a while before the economy would turn around. Now we are in the full grips of it.
David, you just heard what Peter said. You know, is there any sense that our elected leaders have any clue what to do here?
I don't know. I think it's very interesting. We have not heard from any of the candidates about what's happening to people who, in this jobless recovery, haven't done well. I've been talking to people in the last few days who run soup kitchens and emergency food pantries. Mm-hmm. They tell me all across the country, depending on where I call, that demand is up 20 to 40%, yeah. And that all the new clientele are people who have never before asked for help, including construction workers who are used to, working and then being out of work. And they don't have any food in the house. I think that this problem is a lot deeper than we think. Remember, we've only created a little more than 4 million jobs in the last 8 years, maybe close to 5 million jobs, where we needed to create about 15 million just to keep up with population growth.
Yeah, it almost seems that the candidates, what they're doing is attacking each other, but not really offering any real solutions. So we have some sound from Senator Obama on the campaign trail that I want to play and to have you listen and respond to.
The Bush policy of lavishing tax cuts on corporations, including those that ship American jobs overseas. He made kind of a strange argument that the best way to stop companies from shipping jobs overseas is to give more tax cuts to companies that are shipping jobs overseas.
Yeah, Peter, do you think that this is a message that resonates with voters, or do they really want to hear, what are you going to do to help me save my job?
Well, I think they'd like to hear what he's going to do to help them save the jobs, but when you listen to what McCain is talking about, which is really more of the same, Obama can get by with that kind of rhetoric. One of the reasons the markets are so gripped in despair is there's no indication of what this guy is going to do after he takes office in January. It doesn't seem like he really has a plan. It seems like his economic policies are premised on a great wealth-creating machine, and that the principal problem is redistributing income. I got news for Mr. Obama. The wealth-creating machine is busted.
Yeah, McCain is hitting that point as essentially saying, why are you even thinking about raising taxes at this point? We have some sound from McCain as well, and we'd like to hear from him.
The answer to a slowing economy is not higher taxes. The answer to a slowing economy is not higher taxes, but that's exactly what's going to happen when the Democrats have total control of Washington. We can't let that happen.
Alan, if you could respond to that. You heard Senator McCain questioning why would you possibly raise taxes when the economy in the state that it is right now, and you heard Peter just say, look, the problem is that we need to get back to creating real wealth here in this country. What are your thoughts?
Well, first, Senator Obama has a tax cut plan. Has been very, very clear he's going to keep the Bush tax cuts for the middle and lower income families and just raise taxes on upper income families. Congress is working hard on another stimulus program, and tax relief, further tax relief, is part of it. So it's not quite right to accuse Senator Obama of raising taxes. That's only on a small portion of our population. And of course, the high-income people do save and help create wealth, but our problem now is consumption spending is very weak. Consumers don't have enough money. They're really stretched and strained. Tax cuts for the middle and lower-income families, along with increased government spending, is going to happen probably in a special session of Congress if Senator Obama is elected. That'll happen very quickly. The Congress is setting up to do that. And I think Senator Obama, as is pointed out, doesn't have to say too much at this point. He's going to just walk right into victory, given the way things are going.
Yeah, David, this idea, first of a stimulus plan, a package that Congress is talking about, do you think that this is a good idea? Is this something that we need right now, a second stimulus, or are we talking about something that's just going to add to the deficit?
Well, we've been living with Keynesian stimulus throughout the last 8 years. That's what the government's been fundamentally doing, and it has not worked especially. The idea of giving checks to people, we're going to write you a $300 or $500 check, we know from the 2 times that's been done that it doesn't produce the economic results we want. There are things we need and could be doing if the government wants to prime the pump by spending money. First and foremost, addressing the pinch points in the infrastructure that are making our economy less efficient. And secondly, redirecting some of the money back towards research that builds our knowledge base and makes us wealthier in the long run. Right now, I understand the National Institutes of Health are only approving about 11% of research grants, for example.
Peter, what do you think? Do you think that we need a stimulus package, or what do you think needs to happen at this point to really turn things around?
Well, we got to do 2 things. We got to make the banks start loaning money. We've given them all this liquidity, and now they turn around and say they're going to use it to buy other banks. We need to make our aid to them conditional on them making more loans. At the same time, with stimulus we have, David's right. Just giving taxpayers some more money, they spend it on T-shirts and coffee makers, and it doesn't get us anywhere. We really got to focus on infrastructure, building a permanent legacy of a more productive economy, both in terms of buildings and roads and things that need to be done, and also on research and development. I agree with him there. That's the place to spend the money, invested. Also, that money stays here. When we give people stimulus money and tax cuts, they tend to buy imports.
Yeah, David, the next president who is going to have a huge task, to say the least, what do you think he needs to do?
Well, immediately he needs to let the markets know who's going to be his Treasury Secretary and start floating that out so that because there's a confidence problem here. And I think he needs to make it clear that the banks can't continue to be on strike. The banking industry needs to be, with a carrot and a stick, told you've got to get back into the business here of lending money and making the economy move. And part of that is we've got to have some banks fail. The government has to figure out, if it doesn't know, where there are concentrated problems and allow those banks to go so that we can move forward from where we are now.
Alan, and we'll allow you to have the final word, your concluding thoughts.
No, I think monetary policy has to stay stimulative. Interest rates have to come down more. That's going to be across the world. We do need some more stimulus out of Washington. It will be, I think, on the infrastructure side, as the other guests have said. And if there are tax cuts, tax rebates, checks from the sky don't do any good. They have to be permanent tax cuts, and I think we'll eventually get that. A year from now, things will look a lot better. Right now, we are in an economic and financial crisis, the worst since the Great Depression.
Well, we have some of the brightest minds. We appreciate your insight, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining, and we certainly hope the policymakers are listening and to your great and wonderful insight. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate your time. Well, coming up...